Hey, everybody. Welcome and happy Tuesday to you. Thank you all for joining us for another Sales Hacker live event. We have the wonderful Jake here with us today, and we are happy to have you here as well. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to join in. And as we wait, I'm going to run a few things by you. Skaled is putting on a virtual conference on November 2nd that you definitely don't want to miss out on. There'll be 3 content paths: the modern leader, seller, and RevOps, so really applicable to everyone. Forefront is going to be a chance to break through old methodologies and ways of thinking. They're giving the sales world a platform to hear and share where they think the forefront of sales is moving. Pretty cool. So influential virtual conference that is both strategic and tactical. You'll want to grab your tickets. Jake's got a 20% code for you. I'll drop a link to that in the chat in a second. But
Love
also,
it.
you might want to check out their 4th edition of their modern outbound playbook. If you like to keep it tactical around what's working now, be sure to grab that. It'll
Totally.
include a 7 step-by-step play for better outbound and to generate more meetings. It'll be dropping tomorrow, so be sure to get your hands on it first. So I'll drop a link to that as well in the chat. Let me see here. All right. Well, I thought I was going to make it work. Here we go.
We'll figure it out. I put in here too, if everyone, I always like to know like what the role is. So there we go. Look, JF is already over it. He already dropped in. Hi from Montreal. I love it. Yeah, I love it just to know, like, again, where roles too. We got more people on the sales leadership, sales development side too. So just drop your role in there. We've had like business deals happen. People get jobs from just the chat. So, take advantage of it.
And yeah, that's one great aspect of joining in live. Drop your LinkedIn profile. Be sure to network.
Kenya's in the house.
Yeah.
Italy and Kenya are in the house. I love it.
Another cool thing that I wanted to mention is Sales Hacker is coming back in person as well. We'll be sharing some surprising insights on what's behind the decline in quota attainment, debate the best solutions, and share actionable fixes that we can all use to achieve that target. We'll be in Seattle on October 21st, so coming up, and in Atlanta on the 28th of October. I'll drop a link to those in the chat as well. They're free to attend, but the seats are limited, so make sure you save those for yourself. We'll have food and drinks. You'll be able to meet a lot of people. And then we will unpack those industry insights and exclusive flash poll results. And if you're not going to be in Seattle or in Atlanta at that time, that's all right. We'll be in San Francisco, New York, and Austin in the coming months, so stay tuned for that. Today's event is sponsored by Scale. We've got Jake here to share his take on how companies are adapting their processes in the new world, where people are coming in with different expectations and levels of education. Jake is awesome. We love having him here over at Sales Hacker, and he and I both want to make sure that we serve today's conversation best for you. So make sure if you've got a thought or a question, drop it in the chat. Don't hesitate. At any time is a good time. So let's get comfortable with the chat. I see it's already kind of going. Make sure that you change it from host and panelists to everyone. That way we can all see your messages, and everybody can see your messages, not just Jake and I. And like Jake mentioned earlier, drop your role, your LinkedIn profile, and then we will dive into today's convo.
Love it. All right. Yeah, we got a lot of people chiming in already. Stephanie's just down the road. I'm in Austin. She's in San Antonio. I'll be down there a bunch. We're going to a bunch of Spurs games, so I'm excited for that. Croatia. We've got all over the world. I love this. Someone's from Kansas City too. I'm from KC. We had a big win last night versus the Raiders. It was ugly, but hey, we won. That's all that matters. Savannah, is that the Chiefs won, right? So really excited for this conversation today, everyone. Any of these sessions, you all, will get out of this what you put into it. So feel free. I always tell people, be like wildly selfish, be wildly selfish. Don't, you don't have to, let's see, you guys should be able to see me now, I think, versus everybody. ask the question. If you're like, Jake, like, hey, like, how does this apply to me? What does this look like? Myself, Savannah, will be taking a look at the chat. So, we should be able to, have some cool stuff for you. So today's topic here, and I even the team put together a deck. I won't take any credit for it. They put it together, which really is a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart right now, which is totally focused on this idea of the modern customer. And for a lot of us, we're in sales. We've got some product managers, sellers, sales development reps. We've got kind of tons of different people. There you go. We've got our first question. It just says cool. Love that. But I really want us to start to think about the way that we buy and how it's changed. And what I mean by that is everything consumer trend related tends to come to B2B at some point. And I want you to think about how our consumer buying pattern has changed in the last I could just say last 5 years, but let's say last 10 years. Let's rewind to 2012, okay? And I want to talk about what didn't exist in 2012. You know what wasn't really a thing in 2012? LinkedIn, other than to look for jobs, right? Instagram just kicked off in 2012. I mean, it already kind of kicked off. I think that's the year they got acquired. Amazon, right? Amazon is like, yeah, maybe I go to Amazon. You probably still went to Zappos or somewhere as well too. Then they were, acquired them. So think of all these trends and these things literally 10 years ago. Now, click to buy. If this thing's not gonna show up, I just had to order some new like USB-C adapters. And I'm like, oh, I picked the one that's gonna show up in like 2 days. And like, nope. So I picked the one that shows up tomorrow. And the way that we buy as consumers has changed dramatically. We expect speed. We have access to information. We look at reviews. We decide who we're going to work with, etc. And the thing that we've got to start to reorientate to, and this doesn't matter if you're a CRO or if you're a frontline rep. Everything I'm going to talk about today is going to be, all for you. It's going to be, you can go do this yourself. You don't need your boss to do it or your boss's boss or somebody to do it. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to talk about this idea of the customer journey and really thinking about those trends. You can't deny them. You can't deny that in our personal life, we have become accustomed to everything at the tip of our fingers, whatever the hell we want it. And on the B2B side, and some of you might be chuckling right now, like it's not quite like that. And so I'll jump in and I'll talk about kind of the sales processes today. An easy way, and by the way, all these methodologies are fine. Like there's not anything like inherently wrong with any of them. Spin, Medic, Challenger, BANT, Command of the Sale. Go ahead and drop in. I'd love to know like if your company has a methodology, like what your sales methodology is. So if some people want to drop it in the chat too, of just like, what are you using? Are you using one of these methodologies? The thing that's an issue, right? So Challenger, Sandler combo, solution selling. Yeah, I'm a fan of like solution MedPick, which is just variation of Medic and MedPick and MediPick. That's MediPick. That's another one. All right, any other ones? So it sounds like again we're kind of all over the board on this process. The main gap that we have is that these processes are built for how you want to sell or how we want to sell versus maybe how a customer wants to move through the journey today. Okay, so I want you to think about that. In today's world, we're so used to this behavior, frictionless, let's go, next person, versus this world of like, I don't know how you'd probably like put it properly, but this world of like, nope, put up gates, you have to go talk to someone. The person that you're going to talk to, she or he may or may not actually have the answer. So then you need to go and talk to like somebody else, as a part of it. So again, I just want you guys to think about that these methodologies are built to think about it as a sales process first, right? But the data says we're moving to more and more of a digital experience, right? You've seen these stats, right? 92% of buyers prefer virtual sales interactions. 92%. 61 prefer engaging reps when inquiring about products with complex configuration. That's only 61. So I think 39% of people are like, nah, even if it's complex, I don't want to engage with a salesperson, right? And again, knowledge of the company, there's nothing really new there. right? So again, I want you all to really think about some of these details here, and like, is the process, is the way that we're operating today conducive to how people want to buy? So just think about that, as a part of this. Like, is that conducive to how people want to buy, right? With all these different trends and these things that are going on here. All right. There are 3 things that you can do to be successful in today's world. I'm going to talk you through them. And it's really easy. All of you can do this, okay? Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having a sales methodology per se. The issue is when the sales methodology becomes so focused on qualification that it loses sight of the customer experience. That's where things break. And I don't know how many of you can attest to this, or how many of you can this relates to you in terms of like how often our process is meant to qualify somebody versus really have like an understanding and meet that customer where they're at, right? And that's really what I want you to think about, is in the customer journey, where are they at today? What do they want to do, etc. So yeah, Daily, I will give you an example. So I'll jump in with like maybe a couple of like examples of this. So think about like this: if a customer is coming to you, and I want you to think, I use this phrase, and I call it vetted, educated, and cold. Imagine 2 different types of customers. It used to be, here's the thing, it used to be that all customers were coming to you relatively at the same place because there wasn't that much information about you online. Like if I wanted to go research competitors, like G2 didn't really exist, other things didn't exist. A lot of people still don't even know what G2 is. And so everyone is kind of coming in this like somewhat educated, not really educated space, right? Let's just call it like world. Today, someone might have visited G2, visited your competitor pages, had a demo with somebody else, and then kind of hears about you through the grapevine, and then comes inbound. Another person might have just done a quick Google search and came inbound. The level of intent of person A is so much higher than what we are used to. And so what happens is a lot of sales processes today treat all leads, inbound leads, and even outbound leads the same. They all go through the same process, same funnel. The reality is we need to start to think of a process like, if I'm that person who's person A, and you start to qualify me, you're asking me, well, so tell me about the initiatives and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, I have done all my homework. I know more than you. And then you can't even show me the product on the first call because I got to go talk to an account executive. Ugh, guys, I've already done my research. Please, can we just cut to the chase? Right now, most sales processes are not meant to deal with, their methodology does not account for people with high levels of intent. We try to put everyone into the same path, which is this like qualification framework. Maybe we show it to them. We don't know, okay, wait, Jake, you've done this, great. I'm gonna go get a call set up. We're gonna do this, and this on the next call. Let's just go ahead and start fast tracking this thing, right? And so hopefully that's a good example for you of like what it looks like. So step 1 is determine, and I'll talk more about intent here in a second, but hopefully, is it Daily? I hope that helps as a live example, just like the level of intent. So as a part of this, good, I'm glad it does. As a part of this, like determining the paths of best fit customers. Okay, how many of you can kind of raise your hands virtually, have ever taken the time to just think about this? Okay, well, if I was a customer, what would I want the process to be? If I was a customer and I was interested in this category, whatever it is that you sell, what would be most helpful, right? There we go. It's got some people raising their hands. I want you to think about that. Ever take a step back. And that's why I said, look, you don't have to be in rev ops or sales ops or senior leadership. You can do this as a frontline rep right after this conversation. Is just do this. We use a tool called Mural, M-U-R-A-L. It's really good for like journey maps, and it's free. You guys can go download it for free. But it really allows you to like kind of visualize this and think, okay, what would I want my first touch point to be, right? And if you have enough customers, you can actually use customer data. You could go look at, hey, let's go look at our last 30 closed won, and how did those people behave? Well, they did this and then they did this. Okay, well, how does that compare to our last 30 closed lost? How does that compare? So if you have enough customer data, great. You can start to use customer data and really just kind of map it out. Or like either user surveys or prospect surveys as well. Like, hey, what would you prefer, etc. But a lot of this you can do on your own. A lot of this you can just sit there and go, okay. So if I came to a company and I didn't know a lot about them, what would I want my first call to be? And I want any of you thinking about this. I want you to think about it that way, which is, would you, if you were coming to your own company and you said, hey, I'm interested in this sector, would you want to have a qualification call? Would you want to have a call where someone's like asking you a bunch of these questions, blah, 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 blah? Or would you want someone who can talk to you, have a conversation, go a little back and forth, give you a tease as to what the product can do, etc.? So think of those things, right? Think of the customer experience, not what you want as a salesperson, okay? That's number one. And again, this is an exercise. You can go do this on your own. I highly encourage all of you to go do this on your own or go do it with your teams, etc. Just map this path, okay? What's the next one? What's the next? Okay, so all right, the first call we have a conversation. They show me a little product. Well, I probably want to loop in some people for my team on the next one to make sure they like it. Okay, great. So then what should that experience feel like? Should it feel like, okay, here's a demo and we're blah, blah, blah? Or should they take some of the things from the conversation that we just had and use that in the demo? So yes, those are all things that I would think about. So that's it. Step one, go spend an hour. I promise this is going to be one of the best hours you will spend on your business versus in your business, is to just map this best fit customers. And you might say, well, Jake, I've got a couple different types. Cool. Come up with 3 or 4 different variations of this. It goes back to what I said. I'm going to talk about intent-based discovery right now. If you you have to have different paths ready for people. So in that discovery process, and I'll talk about this concept of intent-based discovery, I need to see, okay, okay, what does this person know? What don't they know? Wow, okay, so she's already had 2 demos with our competitors, right? So again, just think of that. How much different would you treat someone who's already demoed your 2 competitors and knows their pricing, and that person just came inbound, you don't know, or someone who, again, just came inbound because they found you on a Google search? So if you're not asking questions to understand, hey, where are you at in the process? And again, some of these sales methodologies actually have some of these questions in the methodology, but the problem is most people don't use them correctly. Instead, we try to use them to qualify as opposed to like truly try to just understand, like, okay, where's this person at? Have you had a chance? Have you been vetting the space? Have you started to look at alternatives? Again, like asking questions like that. Hey, have you started to kind of vet other providers? Like, where are you at in your kind of your education process, right? And I talk about, even with cold leads, people that we set an outbound meeting with, can I send them some details ahead of the meeting to maybe get them to be slightly educated? Can I send them a customer video plus something I think is going to be super relevant based on their specific industry, right? Can I do that? I don't know, maybe you can as a part of this. So all right, someone click the link there. Trip, you dropped your link in there. Appreciate it. I was going to pull it up, but it clicked over. So think about this intent-based discovery. Okay, all think about this concept that if I don't know, we have to understand at the very beginning of the sales process and engagement, where is my customer coming from? Where are they at? Are they cold? They don't really know much. Are they educated? They've done some, or are they vetted? They've already vetted these. They've vetted us. They vetted other people. They're going to make a decision, etc. And this is where I see a lot of sales organizations struggle, is that we treat this part of the conversation like a qualification. What we should be trying to do is understand where they're at, what their needs and pains are, obviously important, but also where they're at from an intent level. And this is something that all of you can do. If you're in sales, you can literally go and start to do this right now. Like right now, you can just add a few questions to your discovery that are focused on like understanding a person's level of education on what it is. So again, intent-based discovery, this is the future. That way I can understand how to fast track or triage people. And that's really what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to quickly identify who I should fast track and get them down that path. Get them down the path to be able to work as a part of it. All right, so last but certainly not least is alignment. Okay, this is where it gets even more fun, okay? Which is, and again, some of you are on the front line, so I want you to just think about what you can do to help with alignment. And if you're at the leadership level, I want you to really think about your alignment across orgs. So if you guys don't know, so Skaled, we're revenue, strategy, operations, enablement firm. We do a mix of retainer-based work where we serve as like interim RevOps or interim sales leaders for companies. We do a lot of point solution product-based work where we build playbooks and overhaul people's tech stack. We've got a tech stack process as well. And so we get a chance to see every form of function and dysfunction you can imagine. We work with hundreds of companies every year, and I get a chance to kind of personally see a wide variety of options here. And I think one of the biggest issues that we've seen from a customer experience decline is a lack of alignment between groups. Marketing is KPI'd on this thing, sales is KPI'd on net new deals, account management's KPI'd on renewals and growth, and nobody kind of gives a about the people on the other side because it's not aligned to their compensation, or they're just not trained, right? Like I cannot tell you how many sales teams don't actually know what goes into implementing their product. They kind of know, but they're so used to just saying things like, it's just easy to get started and blah, blah, blah. And then the account management team is like, dude, what is this? Like you promised them all this stuff, et cetera. So what I want you to think about is this the concept of RevOps, is really kind of blown up in the last few years, is really just making sure like, look, we've got I can see my whole customer journey. I can see my whole experience from marketing to sales, throughout the sales process, to the implementation process, or to the handoff, to the power usage. Because really, I want you to think about this. A company's goal for a software company, and for most companies, is to create power users, not to create signed contracts. The customer does not care about signed contracts. They don't care. The customer cares about return, like what's this going to do for me? Are these guys going to make me look good? Are they going to make me look bad? If we bring these people in, right? So that's what I would kind of think about, is that this alignment. So if for you, like let's say if you're a frontline rep, or if I'll even go further back. Let's say you're a sales development rep, and look, you don't have it in. You probably get either comped off, qualified meetings and maybe a percent of a deal. I don't know. What could you do to create better alignment with your sales rep? Could you say, hey, you're on the phone to somebody, hey, look, I really enjoyed this conversation. Let me get Jonathan on our team. He is really an expert in healthcare, blah, blah, blah. And I'll give you a quick high level now on what we can do and like how we help. And then Jonathan can kind of come in with very specific use cases. I'll make sure he's prepped. I'll make sure to have walked him through kind of our conversation in details so you have an amazing experience. That costs nothing to do if you're a sales development rep. Now let's go to the sales rep. Sales reps, you need to know what goes into the implementation. You need to have alignment on the next step down so you can describe it to people as a part of this. All right, so we got a question that says, could you please spend some small suggestions on how to attract this variety of potential customers? I think what you're asking is, how do I get more like warmer people in the top of the funnel? I think that's what your question is. I'm going to come back to that one. I can definitely get into some tips and tricks. And actually, if you want, you should, if you scroll to the very top here of the chat, download, sign up, join the waitlist. It drops tomorrow, but we've got some plays in here. I'm just going to drop it. Oh, it didn't do it. Or maybe, Becca, we can just drop the link for the Modern Outbound Playbook. And then that will help you a little bit, but I'll try to come up with some other stuff. So alignment is the other thing, that each group needs to make sure that the customer feels taken care of after the deal. So between each step, the customer makes sure that they feel taken care of. That is, and again, you don't need your boss to tell you this. It's what's right for the customer. It will help you to close more deals because you'll build trust. You will build trust with the customer that you are looking out for them to make sure that they're successful and not just trying to close a deal. Even though you just get comped if they close the deal, not if they churn. The more people you set up for success, they leave to go to another company, they come back to you, etc. So alignment. At the executive level, okay, and this is where some of you may have no control over this. So you can just focus on what you can control. is comp plan alignment. This is one of the crazier things that I see is the comp plans could not be more not aligned to create an amazing customer experience, right? HubSpot pioneered this idea that guess what, sales reps, part of your commission's on renewal. Did we sign the right type of people that are going to stay with us for a few years? And so I think all of you should really think about that, do my comp plans really align to create a fast, effective, efficient customer journey? Or do I have all these really weird bottlenecks where it's like MQL, SQL, this, and then all of a sudden it's based on this KPI? And then that makes it more and more confusing for people. So I'm going to kind of go through a little bit like more detail here. And again, like I really want to encourage everyone to kind of like drop some questions in the Q&A as well around this. Because to me, this is the future. When I think about where the ball is moving, when I think about, kind of where things are headed, it's the companies that nail the customer experience. Those are the companies that are going to win. The companies that think customer first, and they're really thinking about customer first, and they're like, okay, this is what, as a customer, this is what I actually care about. Or as a customer, this is what I'm going to focus my time on, right? And this is my experience. These are the people that are going to win. And I think for a lot of companies, again, we've been so used to just throwing up gates as a part of this, right? We've been so used to not just throwing up gates as a part of this, but really running people through our process in terms of like what we think is best. And so to just kind of like recap for all of you, and then we'll turn it over some Q&A, or we'll get you all on your way here a little early as well, is mapping your customer journey. Everyone, again, very easy process. If you have the data, fantastic, use the data. If you don't have the data, doesn't matter. Just put yourself in your customer's shoes. Okay, think about that. I'm a customer. What would I want my first interaction to look like? What would I want my second interaction to look like? And all of you fit in that value chain. You are somewhere there in that sales process for sure. So really think about, again, maybe it's a influencer in the process or a decision maker. It doesn't really matter. You might have multiple customer paths. Well, what happens if we get a decision maker? That's the first call. Okay, boom, that's this path. Okay, what if we get somebody like, who's more of a user? Boom, that's this path. So just really take the time to get to know your customers and to really think about what would create an amazing experience for your customers in particular. So that to me is like, I just cannot iterate enough. It's an hour to 2 hour exercise. It is going to change the way that you think about your customer. Number 2 is intent-based discovery, right? So again, think intent-based discovery is I'm trying to diagnose the level of research and vetting that my prospect has done before you meet with them. Where are they in their journey as a part of this process? Where are they, right? Are they early? They haven't done anything? Okay, now I need to get them to educated. Okay, they're educated, now I need to get them to vetted, which means that they've, there's a formal project plan, they've got budget. There's actually like a real project here. So again, I would just think about what are you doing today to understand intent of like their level of education, not just like with MedPick or some of these other ones where it's like, well, I know who the players are. I know their timeline. Timeline's a part of this for sure. But just think more so of like, how educated is this person? And that's one of the big issues I have with a lot of methodologies. There's no methodology right now that's focused on understanding where is this person in the vetting process versus like, do they have a project? Where are we at with that project, the timeline, the budget, the economic buyer? No, like where are we at in the actual vetting? So you need to make sure that you're asking questions so you can triage and fast track. And last, but certainly not least, is alignment. That, like I said before, whether you are a frontline rep or a senior leader, you can 100% control how your customer feels about alignment. You can choose to make sure that they have an amazing experience down the chain. You can choose that, okay? You can choose to make sure that they do that as a part of this. So again, and that's where, again, I think RevOps can really come in and be a part of this, right? RevOps can really help to like give you the data and the throughput. Also, if you can align comp plans, it's what do you call it? It's a better process whenever possible. So, comp plan alignment can help for sure. But in the meantime, you all can fix this yourselves. All you have to think about is, if I was a customer, what would my path be? How do I better understand where my customer's actually at, or this prospect's at, and make sure that I'm aligned and I'm setting the people up before and after me for success. And that is why we have to stop thinking of this as our sales process as opposed to our ideal customer journey. So I hope this topic is helpful for a lot of you. We're going to turn it over to some Q&A now. You can make sure to follow me on LinkedIn. I post sales stuff on LinkedIn pretty much daily. So you can come check that out as well. Joe, make sure to check out Skaled as a part of this. And I'm going to jump into some Q&A. So like I said at the very beginning, be selfish here. Like, if you have questions, and again, I can see some in here, I think Trip dropped one. Ask the question. If you're like, Jake, how do I do this? Like, I'm nervous, maybe I can do it this way, or I'm not sure how to do it. Please feel free to, hit me up, right, as a part of this. So first question is from Trip. How do you change the customer journey to align with your internal process? It's critical that you set up your customer at the start while you're changing things on your side. Yeah, it's a really good question. You probably have a process today that isn't that far off. That's what I would say, is that most companies that have taken the time to really document this, they have a process today, and it's probably not like completely terrible. So it's not that you have to do that. What I would do, Trip, where I would start, and this goes for everyone, right? Where I would start is, where are the bottlenecks in the customer experience? What are the things that are happening? And like, what is the one thing that is happening at whatever stage it's at that is causing customers to slow down or create friction? It could be that you need to stop having your SDRs qualify inbound leads that look like this, this, and this, and those people need to go straight to an account executive. Cool, fixed, done. So yes, Bettina, exactly. Yes, exactly. How can you change your internal process to align with the customer journey? Exactly. And so if you want to identify the parts of the customer journey, go look for the bottleneck. That we've got it twisted a lot in sales. We try to fix everything. One of my favorite quotes of all time, or stat, is that the word priorities was invented like in the 1920s. There can be only one priority, and now then we're like, no, there's priorities. And I think bottlenecks is another one. It's like, no, there is a bottleneck. And so if I was thinking about architecting my customer journey, what I would probably, what I do is I would architect the journey that I thought was ideal. Then I would look at our process today and I'd identify the biggest point of friction. And again, I can tell you, for a lot of companies, for a certain customer type that comes inbound, your sales development team should not be talking to those people. They should go straight to sales, because that customer is going to be educated. They know what they're looking for, and you need to fast track them. There's no reason to slow them down to some qualification BS. Again, and that's just a bigger issue we have at the top of the funnel. Even sales reps who do their own qualification calls. It's not a good customer experience if your goal of that call is qualification versus understanding. And it's either fit or not. It's like it's the outcome of understanding. Is this person qualified or are they not qualified? So that's how I would think about that piece. And Bettina, yes. Trip, I think Bettina kind of, I guess, summarized it the way that I would too, which is like, it's okay to map your current customer or your current sales process, but start with that customer journey first, and then just see where's the disconnect. God, and again, what you've got to be able to do is take your rose-colored rah, my product's the best glasses off, and you've got to be able to just say, like, look, let's optimize this customer experience for speed. What could we do? Forget what we've done in the past. And I think that's an important part of this exercise, is you got to be able to suspend belief a little bit. You've got to say, what would be ideal for the customer? How can I move them through faster and get them where they want to be faster? And that will get you there. All right, Jan asks, what percent would that comp plan look like? So this is a comp plan question. Here's what I would say. Whoever is the next down the value chain, so like a sales development rep. I'm a big fan, I used to not be, but now I am, of a sales development rep. Part of their compensation should be tied to deals closed, not just qualified meetings set. Why? I want them to focus on like understanding what actually is a great fit that actually will buy. Same thing with the sales reps. I firmly believe part of sales reps compensation should be, you can really solve this one of two ways. One is like X% of usage that the customer gets there, or if a customer churns in the first year, there's some type of clawback. I don't know what the exact percentages are. That's going to be very specific to your business. But again, what you want to do is align everyone. It's why whenever I was a VP of sales, I would never have taken a VP of sales job if I didn't also oversee account management, because then I had control at the executive level to create that through line. I'm not going to let my sales team throw anything over to this team, because I got to protect these guys as well too, and I've set them up for success. And so for me, like, that was just mission critical, that I to be able to have that through line as a part of it. So I don't really know, percentages are going to vary, Jan, but I would just think about comp plan. How do I align people to do what's right for the customer, not just their comp plan? So there you go. All right, another question, examples of questions to ask how educated a prospect is. Love this. So this is this idea of intent-based selling, or intent-based discovery. And so yeah, I'll give you some really good ones here that you can kind of steal or borrow. The issue some sales teams have is they're terrified to bring up the competition. They're terrified because, like, what if they're not looking at the competition? What if they're not, talking to them? It's like, well, assume that they are, because there's a high likelihood they probably are, right? So some of the questions I might ask something like, let's say I've already understood their role, which is always like the first set of questions. I might go into like, great, so let's talk about, kind of this issue, this pain or whatever it is. So how far are you down the path of like actually finding a solution for this? Have you, is this your first call that you've taken? Have you had a bunch of calls like this? And again, I wouldn't do this up front. I'd kind of nestle these questions in once I understand like the need or requirements, to then say like, okay, like, where are you, like, kind of in this journey? Have you guys started to have conversations about when a good time to deploy might be? Have you started to have conversations around budget? No, Jake, we're really early. Okay, great. Take them through the process. Yes, Jake, we have. We actually, we've got a sales kickoff coming up on Feb 12th, and I want to have this thing ready to rock and deployed. I've already talked to 2 other customers, 2 other of your competitors, and here's where I'm at. Cool, awesome. You're already here. I'm going to meet you there, right? So those are some questions that you could ask. Again, like, where are you at in kind of this vetting process? Are we in exploratory? Have you started to have conversations? Have you started to earmark budget or timelines, etc.? So there you go. That's one for you. Bettina said, during the pandemic, customers learned to use Google, and sales needs to figure out exactly. Yeah, 100% right. Yeah, I mean, how many of you have? I did a poll on this, and the results will not shock you. I did a poll on this last week on my LinkedIn. I asked, how useful is a company's website after you book the first meeting? And the results were pretty pathetic. It was like, it was like 30% of people said it was still effective, or 40 were like, yes, very. And then like there's another percent that said a little bit, and then the biggest was no. And it's funny. So then that means me as a potential buyer, I got to go get educated throughout the internet and Google and these other things. And so I would do it. I would Google a pain set that your customer might be interested in, that you solve for, and see what pops up. And that's where you got to think about, okay, am I up to date on those trends? When they look at those trends, can I ask them questions around those trends, etc. But that's exactly right, that because customers are coming in at step 2 or step 3, we have to stop the madness of treating everyone the exact same. Every customer should not have the same, experience. Instead, it should be the right experience based on where they're at from an intent standpoint. I talk a lot about this intent-based concept because, again, I just think about my own consumer purchasing. Again, like, how many of you want to talk to us, like, to buy something, even buying a house now? It's like, I don't want to talk to somebody. Yuck. I'm going to go look at the house, find that. I think the stat from like pre-pandemic, it was 2019 or something. It was like 70% of homes were found by the buyer, not the agent. So if we're doing that in our personal lives, I'm telling you, and we proved in the pandemic that you can close $1 million deals 100% virtual. And you saw the stats that I showed at the very beginning. We are in a world now where friction is going to kill your deals. And that if you are not focused on how to remove friction from the process, you are going to be in trouble. we are already buying inferior products consistently on Amazon because they ship to our house faster. Makes no sense. I can get there 2 days or 3 days, but I'm like, no, that one then. Forget this other one, you know. And then the other part again is that the implementation. If you're in sales, you need to know what your implementation process looks like so you can describe it accurately. You know, that's my other kind of big hopeful takeaway for a lot of you is make sure that you know, so when a customer asks, you can say, great, let me talk to you about how we're going to partner going forward here. This, you can even loop in your customer success or account management team. I love doing that too, as well. So let's see if we've got any more questions here. I'm not sure if we have any more questions. Yeah, maybe. All right. If you've got one, I'm gonna wrap up here. But if you've got any, there we go. All right. Selling consulting services, I can answer that one. Salespeople I coach get stuck in educating. Yeah, exactly. I love that. Yeah, Ellen, I call that like if the job was called information giving, you wouldn't get paid commission. That's my favorite saying. You can steal that, Ellen, which is like, guys, the job is not information giving. It's called sales. And if you just get up there and spew about a product or whatever, you know, that's not real sales. Zach said, where do you see friction points in selling consulting services? This is a great one. And by the way, this is going to be applicable to not just consulting services, but I'd say like any professional service. When you've done projects many, many times over, you can start to see it's a yin and a yang. The good part of it is you start to see patterns. So then from there, you can start to really probably clearly identify what somebody most likely needs very quickly and give them that. The yang to that is, and the not so great part is you stop thinking about this customer specifically and where they're at in their journey. You know, I might have 20 conversations this month with Series B, A, B, and later stage public, companies. And as I hear them talk, I hear that I'm like, okay, yeah, that person is like a J74, right? This person's a H62, right? Like just pattern matching. So I think that to remove friction in a professional service, you've got to get really good at the diagnosis and not trying to fit everyone into this cookie cutter. Now, it still might be 80% of the same, but you got to make sure that the 20% feels different. And so they're like, look, so here's what I heard. You're trying to do this. You want to do this. You want to be able to do this. So I think the more that you can clarify and then ask the questions like, where does this fall on the list of priorities for you? You know, is this a P1 where like, if you don't solve this, you're not going to hit revenue numbers? Or is this a P2 because you're going to do X? So any of those techniques will work. But again, so that's what I would do. I would just say, go into each conversation fresh. You've got your knowledge here in the back of your head, but I don't try to, I come in looking to disprove all assumptions that I've made preparing. Because if I go into that mindset, I'm not trying to make someone look like, something that's worked in the past. I'm really trying to understand their situation as a part of it. So do that, be fresh conversation, dig in, understand the priorities. Some of the intent-based questions I gave before will totally work here. Yeah. Bettina's asked for a quick, if a customer is drifting away. Yes, actually download the Modern Outbound Playbook. It's free, so you're not going to charge. And we actually have a couple different plays in there for how to get people that ghost, to get customers, to get them back in the process. A couple of quick tips I'll give you. One is the use of scarcity. That if people feel like you're always available, it actually makes you look kind of desperate. And so one of the techniques that I've used for years is just, I'll say, hey, Bettina, apologies for the delay. I was actually out the last part of last week, but I want to make sure we keep the momentum going. What does your calendar look like for 5 minutes on Thursday at X, right? So that's what I would do. So the scarcity, hey, apologies, I've been out of office. That removes some of the guilt from them to do it. The other is video. We find that if the touch point coming back to them is a personalized video recapping the last email, and then you toss in a little scarcity play. Hey, John, hope you're doing great. Hey, my bad. I was actually out the last half of last week, so I didn't have a chance to kind of send this over sooner. Want to make sure we keep the momentum going. Here's what I heard in our last conversation. I've got tomorrow's booked up, but let me know how your Thursday afternoon looks to do whatever. So Bettina, video works like a crazy way. Majority of company systems and processes are good to sell to one market, but you sell in another. How do you show the potential value growth to them? So Zach, okay, this is so Zach asked the question here. He just sent it to us. And it was, what's the best way to push for change when the majority of your company's systems are geared to sell something different? How do you show the value and growth to them? How the bottlenecks are getting in the way? Okay, Zach, this is where I don't, you can take my advice or not. This is going to be, and then I'll give you a second piece of advice that might be easier. When I would ignore whatever my company said to do, and I would align toward an ideal customer journey. Like that's what I would do, is I would ignore it. So if I had a process map and I knew I needed to make a couple tweaks to it, I just start doing it. Chances are you're remote, Zach, so like no one's gonna know anyway any different. That's what I tell, like I was talking to a group of SDRs. I'm like, if you guys all want to be in sales, just start like running a mini discovery call. Like just do it. You're remote. But again, I'm maybe not the best role model for that because yeah, that's kind of how I look at that. But that would be my first piece of advice, is just start to do it, do something different. Number two is I'd go have a very realistic conversation with my leader, and I would lay out a business proposal for him or her. Okay, and the business proposal for him or her would be like this. Zach, I would go to my boss and say, hey, John, I've noticed these two trends. One, when we do this, this is what I consistently hear. The other trend is whenever I see this, this is what's happening. Here's 4 exact use cases of how that's manifested. Data. Bop, bop, bop. Here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to continue to do this. I want to be able to, for let's say 50% of my calls, I want to try this play. I want to try to do this to test to see if I can get people to actually buy faster or move through the process. Over the next month, are you okay? And I'll bring you the data, etc. If again, I'll continue to run this process, right? But with 50%, I go ahead and I try this. Does that work for you, John? Most leaders, no, you can't. Okay, 20%. Like, John, I'm confident this is going to like have an impact. Let me do this with 20% of deals. Okay, fine. So that's it. Bring a business case. Here's what I'll do. Here's the outcomes, etc. And that's how you get change. All right, my friends, we're at the 45-minute mark. Make sure you sign up for Forefront. It's our amazing half day. It's a half day. It's a virtual conference. Savannah will drop the links in there as well too. Please sign up. We've got a really amazing lineup. We got, I don't even know. We got a lot of people. We got folks from LinkedIn's leadership. We've got my man Kevin Dorsey, Scott Leese. I know I'm forgetting some people too, but we got an action-packed lineup. If you want to be at the forefront, no pun intended, of modern sales, one, get involved. You're going to see all the cool stuff Sales Hacker's doing, which is awesome, and definitely make sure to check out Forefront as well too. It's pretty amazing. It's going to be awesome. So cool. A lot of people got stuff out of the call. That's all that I want. Tactical advice. So thank you so much from like Dilly Dally. Oh, so it was Dally. See, I knew that's what it was. I'm like, how many times, Dally, have you had to do that? My God. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate you. Savannah, I'm going to turn it over to you for some housekeeping.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake, for all your incredible insight here with us today. Thank you all for attending this awesome event and being present and engaging in the chat. It always means a lot to the speakers and me. Like Jake mentioned, be sure to check out their upcoming content and events, and then also the Sales Hacker in-person events. We've actually got Kevin Dorsey on Sales Hacker with us doing a live sequence email teardown on Thursday, so be sure to join that. And we will see you then. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.